শুভ অপরাহ্নের সবাইকে মার্সিসাইড কনসালটেন্সি বাংলাদেশে আপনাদেরকে আবারও স্বাগতম। আজকে আছি আমি সঞ্জিদা এবং আমাদের ব্রিটিশ আইলস ইনস্ট্রাক্টর লরেন।
Hi.
Good morning, Lorraine.
Good morning, Sanjida. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Yes, very well. Today it's very sunny in Edinburgh, which is lovely.
Okay, and you're looking pretty today.
Oh, thanks very much.
All
Likewise.
right. ওকে সো অ্যাজ আমাদের গত পর্বে ছিল আইএলস রাইটিং টাস্ক পার্ট 1 সেশন এবং আজকের সেশনে আমরা আইএলস রাইটিং টাস্ক 1 এর ভোকাবুলারিজ এন্ড এক্সপ্রেশনস গুলো শিখে নিব এবং আমাদের শিক্ষিকা আমাদের টিচার লরিন হেল্প করবে আমাদেরকে এই ভোকাবুলারিজ এবং এক্সপ্রেশনস গুলো শিখতে। যদি আপনাদের কোনো প্রশ্ন থাকে আপনারা কমেন্ট সেকশনে আমাদেরকে প্রশ্নগুলো করতে পারেন এবং আমাদের পেজে এবং আমাদের ইউটিউব চ্যানেলে আপনারা আমাদের রেকর্ডেড ক্লাসগুলো পাবেন সিকোয়েন্স ওয়াইজ। Yes, please, Lauren.
Right. Hello, everyone. And today I will be giving you some information about language that you can use with the IELTS Writing Task 1. So far in our Facebook Lives, Sanjida and I have worked on different parts of the speaking IELTS exam, and we've also worked on writing part 1, looking at the structure and some of the marking criteria that they're looking for with writing task 1. So today I'm going to focus on some language that you can use, linking phrases, language to deal with comparing and contrasting and things like that. So
Okay.
here are the slides. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Lorraine. I'm based in Edinburgh, in Scotland, and I've been teaching English now for 11 years. So
Right.
I'm really delighted to be here to give you some great information about the IELTS exam. And if any of you want to jump in and ask me any questions or even want to come in live and chat with me or practice any of these phrases, please feel free to do so. Okay, so the IELTS academic writing test consists of 2 tasks, and the full part of this exam, so your writing section, will be complete within 60 minutes. So the topics you'll cover are related to areas of general interest, but because it's the academic exam, the level that you will be asked to answer in will be around undergraduate or postgraduate level. Here in the UK, for example, or in another English-speaking country, or if you're looking for a professional job in an English-speaking country or with a multinational organisation that uses English as their main language. So the tone is very formal. So today we'll be looking at phrases which can make your answers just a little bit more formal, to give it more structure and to show relationships between different things. Okay, so if you saw our last live event, you'll know that task 1 is in the form of a graph, table, chart, or diagram. Okay, and I really recommend that you get as much practice with official IELTS materials as you can. It will really help you to prepare for the exam if you have done those tasks in the past. You won't have to think so much about what you're being asked to do because you've already practiced with that structure. Okay, and you'll be asked to describe, summarize, or explain the information in your own words. Okay, and we'll be looking a little bit at how to paraphrase the question so that you're not just copying the question down in your introduction, but using your own words as much as possible. Okay, so here are the 4 different skills that you will need to cover in the exam. You'll need to describe and present data, or describe the stages of a process, or describe how something works, or describe an object, plan, or design. Okay, these are different skills. A lot of the phrases that I'll teach you today are applicable for all 4 of those skills that you need to show. Okay, so
Yeah.
task. Did you have any questions, Sanjida?
No, all right. I understand all of this. Thank you.
Lovely job. Okay, great. So in task 1, you'll be shown visual information and you'll be asked to convert that visual information into text. Okay, so you're saying what you see. To start with, you're just explaining what you see. You need to summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features, making comparisons where relevant, and transferring the information from visual to text. Not making assumptions. Okay, so it's really important that you don't assume. You're reporting what you can see, not saying why it is that way or your opinion about that data on the screen there. Okay, so try not to extrapolate, try not to make assumptions there. Okay, so to complete task 1 successfully, you'll need to write an introduction. Okay, I'll show you how to do that today. Write an overview, a summary of what you see. Present and highlight the key features with figures, that's data. Write a minimum of 150 words, not too much more than that. If you find yourself writing much more than that, then there's probably extrapolation in there. You're probably starting to make assumptions yourself. 150 words, 160, 70 words maximum will be enough for you to do what they're asking you to do. Okay, and answers must be written in full, so no fragments of sentences, no bullet points, and no random notes. Okay, but today we'll have a go at thinking about the structure here, so you can do it in your mind before you start writing, and it is important that you do that. So let's take a look at an example question, shall we? So in example task 1, you'll see something like this. Now, these are pie charts here, and they're called pie charts because they look like pies with different slices, different size slices. Okay, and these show the average household expenditures in Japan and Malaysia in the year 2010. And this is a wonderful resource from ieltsexam.net. I recommend this website to anyone who's preparing for the IELTS exam. So the website address is just there. I'm just highlighting it there. So Japan jumps out at me first, and then Malaysia. That's interesting. Okay, just take a second to think about what you can see here. You do have 20 minutes for this task, but you don't need to spend all that time writing. It's important that you take a few moments to take a look at what you're going to be converting into text. All right. And when it says here, summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features, that means what jumps out at you? What do you see first? Okay, well, for me, I see these green sections. These jump out at me as quite significant, followed by the blue ones here, and then the yellow ones. They're the biggest sections here, so that's interesting. I would go down to the bottom. This is called the key or legend here, and this tells us that the green refers to housing, the dark blue refers to other goods and services. Now make sure you don't get that confused with the light blue, which is for transport. Okay, we've got food and here. Yeah, and then healthcare is the green, dark green one here. I do see students quite often doing a great job of what they're talking about, but a simple mistake like writing the name of the category wrong can really sort of, even if the way you've interpreted it is excellent and the language is great, essentially you're not converting the visual into text accurately. So make sure that you have categorized each of the parts correctly. Okay. If you do have time at the end, I recommend going over what you've written and just double check everything, just make sure that it's all clear, make sure you've looked for any typos, but also make sure that the categories you've written down are correct. Okay. If I were to talk about healthcare, for example, but I'm referring to these light green sections, that's inaccurate. So just by changing the category to housing, if you've made a mistake, then that will make it accurate. So make sure that that's clear. That's especially true of bar charts as well. I often see students making mistakes by referring to the wrong category with bar charts. So just double check that. Okay. It also says in the question here, make comparisons where relevant. Okay, where relevant. That means if there is something of note, if there's something quite worthy of remarking upon, then, for example, 10% here, this section, and that's 20% there. So I think that's quite remarkable. You might say that's double, and what category is that? That's transport. So you can say, Japan spends double what Malaysia spends on transport. Okay, that's remarkable. That's interesting to me. Okay, so that's an idea of the question. Any questions, Sandida?
No, okay. But I can see in healthcare, Japan is 6% and Malaysia is 3%. Japan, okay.
Good. Yeah, that's double as well. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
It looks quite small. It's a very small amount, but comparatively, it's still double. That's a really good point. Yeah. Anything else which jumps out at you, Sanjida?
Sorry?
Anything else which you find quite interesting, or what do you first see when you look at these?
At first, I noticed the healthcare about them in both country, and yes, very. And another one may be a big difference in transport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you picked out the smaller sections there rather than the bigger sections. That's interesting.
Yeah, and their housing is okay. Malaysia is 34%. And Japan is 21%. Okay, and another one is other goods and services. Malaysia and Japan and Malaysia is both are quite close, like 29% and 26%. Here I can see.
Yeah, very similar there.
Yeah, very
excellent.
similar.
Okay, good. And then we might want to have a quick look, if you've got time, we might want to have a quick look and look at overall one and then overall the other. For example, you might say, overall Malaysia spends a third of Malaysia's household expenditures go on housing. Because that's a nice percentage there. 33% would be a third. So yeah, that's overall, you could say, or overall to do with the two of them, housing and other goods and services make up a significant amount of or percentage of the household expenditures in both countries. Yeah, great.
So overall is we can use to explain the large amount of it, or the overview.
Exactly, the overview. Okay, so what I would do in the that could be in the conclusion there. So it's obviously a good thing to write at last. A lot of people try to start writing about the overall facts of what they're looking at here, right in the introduction. But I would say in the introduction, what we do is we paraphrase the question. Okay, so the question here is in green, right? This is on the exam question. And then here you can see what I've written in the introduction, and it's paraphrased. It's not exactly the same thing. Sanjida, would you like to read out the question to begin with, please? And then after that, read out my introduction and just see how I've paraphrased that.
Okay, do you want me to read from this two pie chart or from the pie chart show?
The pie charts show. Thank you.
Okay. The pie charts show the average household expenditures. Is it expenditures?
Expenditures?
Yeah. Expenditures in Japan and Malaysia in the year 2010.
Good.
These two pie charts show the proportion of money spent on various household expenses in 2010 in Japan and Malaysia.
Lovely. Okay, so what differences can you see there? between my answer and the question?
They like the pie charts show the average household expenditures in Japan. Yeah. Okay. So in your answer, you like you explained about the proportion of the money,
Good. Which is what
and
expenditures means. Expenditures means money spent.
yes, yes,
Yeah, so I've paraphrased that one word here into a phrase for a start. Good, Sanjida. Good house.
okay.
I've moved around also the structure a little bit. So I've put the countries last here, right? It says
Yes,
in your
yes,
own words. Yeah. And I've changed from singular pie chart, the pie charts show here, to these two pie charts show. So I've, although that does refer to plural, I've explained that there are two of them. Okay.
yes.
So that's the introduction there. I haven't started remarking yet on what I've actually discovered from these images just yet. I'm about to do that in a second. So first, let's take a look at some vocabulary that we need to summarize the main points, compare and contrast, and make comparisons where relevant. Okay, that's what it asks you in the question. Okay, so we've got some phrases here. I really recommend practicing not only how these are spelled, but also how they are pronounced, because such phrases are simple but powerful, and they can come in handy in many different areas of the Ielts exam. So, Sanjida, would you like to read these for me?
Yes.
Let's go down the left-hand side and then we'll do it that way, yeah?
Okay. Okay. So first one is but. Smallest.
Beautiful.
Lower.
Lovely.
Indicates.
I would put the word stress slightly differently. Indicates.
Indicates.
Indicates on the lovely.
Okay.
That's it on the first syllable there. Indicates. Okay.
Indicates. Okay.
Lovely
So
job.
main.
Good.
Higher.
Lovely.
Compared with.
Beautiful, Sanjida.
Thank you. Then.
Than. Yes, it's important that you say
Than.
this one nice and clearly. It's the a in cat.
Oh.
Than. Than.
Then.
Good. Than is used to compare. Then is used to talk about a sequence of time. What happened
Oh,
in what
yes.
order.
I think that one spells like THEN.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
I understand. Okay. So I have to pronounce it like than.
Than. Lovely. Open that throat. Than. Yeah. And then it sounds better than then, which, yes, we don't want to mix those two up, but very common.
Okay. Okay. I understand now. Okay. In contrast.
In contrast.
In contrast. Okay. So
Lovely.
contrast.
Okay. Good. Exactly. Okay.
Overall.
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 Yeah. Now this one, if it comes at the start of a sentence, which it will do in my example, you will take a little comma after it. Okay, so it will sound like overall, and then a little pause, and then you will go and, summarize it. So that one you can, emphasize it nicely, because it will be followed by a pause, a little comma. Okay, overall.
Overall.
Lovely.
Overall. Okay. While.
Beautiful, Sanjida. Lovely job. Okay, so we're going to have a look at these in context now. Right. We had a look at my introduction a moment ago, which was just paraphrasing the question, or part of the question. Now we're going to look at paragraph 1, so the first body paragraph of the text. Okay, so these are the 3 phrases that I'd like you to fill in the gaps with. Okay, so let's have a look at this one, shall we? So, Sanjida, would you like to read this?
Yes. Yeah, sure. we can see that in Malaysia, the greatest proportion of expenditure, 34%, okay, was on housing. Dash in Japan, housing accounted for just 21% of the total. Okay, so in Japan, we can see that Malaysia, the greatest proportion of expenditure was on housing, compared with.
Interesting. So there, we've got in after it. So we wouldn't say compared with in Japan.
Okay,
We would say
so we have
with Japan, for example.
Okay, so are we are supposed to use compared with? Oh no, we cannot.
We're not. No, it's one of the others. It's one of the others.
While in Japan, yes,
Very good,
yes,
Sanjita. Yes. While is a lovely linking word when it comes in the middle of the sentence.
yes. While is
We
in
can see
I
that.
was confused. Yes.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. And they're all very similar, aren't they, really? So let's have a look. So here in Malaysia, and then here we've got Japan. So we're comparing the two. Okay, and then while
so
goes
we have
there.
to use the link word while.
Great, lovely.
Okay.
And this part here.
I think in contrast.
Very good.
Okay, in contrast, in Japan, the greatest single expense was other goods and service at 29%, compared with 26% in Malaysia.
Beautiful job. Well done. So here, compared with, we've got a percentage here. Okay, so after that, we've got in Malaysia. But earlier I said we don't say compared with in. But here we've got a percentage following it, so that makes sense grammatically now. Okay, lovely job, Sanjita.
Thank you so much.
At the beginning of this phrase here, of this sentence here, we've got in contrast. It's an introductory phrase, so we're going to separate it from the rest of the sentence with a comma. Okay. Now this tells us that we are comparing things in contrast. This is different, that means. Okay, we're comparing two different things. Okay.
Yes.
So while we can see in Malaysia the greatest proportion of expenditure, 34%, was on housing, while in Japan, housing accounted for just 21% of the total. Okay, to me that jumps out more than the others. Okay, so that's what I'm going to start with. In contrast, in Japan, the greatest single expense was other goods and services. Okay. That's the largest percentage that we've got here, 29%.
Yes.
Compared with just 26% in Malaysia. We know we're talking about other goods and services now because that's what we've talked about in this part here. Lovely. Let's have a look at paragraph 2. Here are the 3 phrases that I'd like you to use to fill in the gaps here then, Sanjita.
Smallest, higher, and lower. Okay.
Lovely. When you're ready.
So food came in second place in Japan at 24%, while in Malaysia the actual proportion was dash 27%. Okay, was higher.
Good.
Yes. In Japan, another major expense was transport at 20%, but this was much dash in Malaysia 10% lower.
Lower, well done.
Yeah. In both countries, the higher percentage of expenditure I just mess up with this expenditure.
Good. Expenditure.
Expenditure was on healthcare.
You were very close. You got the first 2 correct, higher, lower, but this one isn't higher. This one is smallest. Okay, because we're talking about healthcare here, and that is the smallest in both of those pie charts there. Okay.
Okay.
But lovely reading there. Okay. This word here is major. Major.
Major.
Lovely. Yes, this word is particularly difficult for most students. They mix it up with another two similar words, which are measure, to measure something, to see how big it is. Yeah. And
Yes.
mayor, which is like the person who leads a town here in Britain, a mayor, Lord Mayor. But, you know, it's also someone who runs a city, for example, the mayor of New York. So yes, we've got mayor there, very similar sounding words, but this is major.
Major.
Lovely job. Okay, so why are we using these words here? Well, lower and higher, these are comparative adjectives. Okay, we use them to compare two different things and say which one is more or less. Okay, smallest, this is a superlative. Okay, so we have the before it, the smallest percentage. Okay, we normally say the smallest in what? The smallest in this image, the smallest in Japan, or the smallest in the world, for example. So here, the word the tells us that we've got a superlative adjective here. Okay.
Okay.
Lovely. Here are the answers. All right, now let's move on to the conclusion. Now I've got lots of lovely phrases for this part, okay? And it's particularly helpful to look at the punctuation here. Okay, so for example, we've got a comma here, we've got a comma here, right? And the rest are in the middle of clauses, okay, in the middle of the sentence. Right, so let's have a look at this conclusion here.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to read these phrases for me first,
Yes.
though, Sandrina? That will help you.
Yeah, sure. So overall, the data indicates that in both cases, food,
Good.
housing, and other goods and services were the main expenses.
Very good.
That in Japan. Okay. So it's higher.
Higher that in Japan? No, I'm afraid not.
No. Overall, the data indicates that in both cases, food, housing, and other goods and services were the main expenses. Then is it going to be then?
It's not actually, no.
Yeah, I'm a bit confused about this.
We can come
Here
back to
again.
that one. That's a bit confusing, Sanjida. We can come back to that one.
Okay, so do you want me to continue with another
Yeah,
line?
you can carry on and see if you can fill the other two gaps in. Yeah.
Okay, sure. Transport and other goods and services took up a higher proportion of the total expenditure than in Malaysia.
Well
So
done.
I think but is going to be but that in Japan.
But there we go. Yes, it's but. Well done. Okay, so overall, the data indicates that in both cases, food, housing, and other goods and services were the main expenses, but that in Japan, transport and other goods and services took up a higher proportion of total expenditure than in Malaysia. Okay, we've got a
Yeah.
conclusion there overall. Lovely. And here's the full answer there, including the phrases. So if anyone wants to take a screenshot of that full answer, then please feel free to do so. Okay, I'm just going to have a look. We haven't got any questions.
Before using the then, I was really confused that and in Japan. Oh no, it's not going to be. And then after using then, I got that. Oh, there is one left. That is but.
Yeah, exactly. So lovely. Yeah, we're looking at a contrast there, aren't we? But could be replaced with however. If it were to be replaced with however, personally, I'd like to end the sentence there and then write however with a capital H and then followed by a comma.
Yes.
Yeah, lovely. Okay, So that's the model answer. As I say, that's from IELTS.net. So it's one of many great resources that they've got there. Oh, that's the end. So if anyone has any questions, I just had a look to see if anyone's posted any questions. We've got some likes, but no questions at the moment. So Sanjida, is there anything else that you'd like to ask? Any questions that you've got there?
All right, I understand this, all of these, and moreover, I want to improve my linking vocabs. How, like, you told me that to use, if I want to use another word like however, or is there more words like we can use instead, but, however, and
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So if you're showing a contrast, my favorite is however. It's more formal and it's particularly nice in the IELTS
okay.
exam, as we're looking for more formal language there.
Yes.
Alternatively, but is one alternative. But I actually prefer, when I'm looking at contrasting things, I will say, in contrast. Or alternatively, conversely is another one that works quite well. And then, of course, if your point is continuing your previous point, so it's not in contrast, but it's in the same vein as the previous point, you can say furthermore, okay, moreover, as you said a moment ago, moreover.
Okay.
And if you're explaining the consequence of something, then you can say therefore. Okay. When I use these phrases, because they're introductory phrases, they'll go at the beginning of a sentence and they'll be followed by a comma.
Okay. So if I use moreover and further, do we need to use punctuation mark?
Yes, comma afterwards. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Think of commas a little bit like a pause in your sentence, right? When we speak, for example, in this example here, then Sanjita, we've got here overall. As I read that out, you'll notice I pause after it before I tackle the rest of the sentence. So overall, the data indicates, so it just gives you a little pause there. And that's how introductory phrases work. In contrast, in Japan,
yeah.
So unlike the linking phrase in the middle here, compared with, I would say, with other goods and services at 29%, compared with 26 in Malaysia. You can hear the little pause here, but we don't need a little pause after it because it's not an introductory phrase. It's part of this clause now. Okay, so just think about it like a little pause. If it helps you with clarifying your sentence, your message, just read it silently in your head and just think, do I need a comma there? And put one in if it will help the clarity of the sentence. We've all read texts where we start to read it and then it seems wrong and we have to go back to the beginning and reread it, but add our own little pause there. That's when someone's forgotten to put a comma there, which makes the sentence difficult for us to read. So we have to do it again. Remember, the whole goal of speaking, writing, communicating in English is for your counterpart to understand you. And with the IELTS exam, the main tenet of what they're looking for is communication skills and the ability for you to be understood, to express yourself clearly, and to understand others. So the more you can help the reader or the listener, then the better that is for your score.
Yeah, so I can say that punctuation marks really helps to make the expression what I'm trying to say. That it
helps
makes
to break
me
up
pause.
the text.
Yes, yes.
Definitely. Punctuation is really important and something that a lot of students don't tend to focus on enough. So I really recommend that students take some time to focus on punctuation as well as pronunciation. Those two often get forgotten in the IELTS preparation. So yes, two very, very silent heroes there, I would say. Two important things to focus on.
Okay.
Okay, great. That's all from me, Sanjida. So as we haven't had any other questions from the audience, then I think if you want to wrap up.
Okay, so this all are for this session.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
ওকে সো সবাই আমাদের আজকের রাইটিং টাস্ক ওয়ান এর অ্যানাদার সেশনটি দেখেছেন। লরিন আমাদের ব্রিটিশ শিক্ষিকা লরিন হেল্প করেছে আপনাদেরকে ভোক্যাবস অ্যান্ড এক্সপ্রেশনটা সম্পর্কে বোঝাতে, এবং আপনারা আমাদের সাথে পাই চার্টের একটি প্র্যাকটিস সেশনও করেছেন। আপনারা যদি এই রেকর্ডিংসটি আমাদের মের্সিসাইড কনসালটেন্সি বাংলাদেশেও পেজে পাবেন যদি আবার দেখতে চান, এবং আমাদের মের্সিসাইড কনসালটেন্সি বাংলাদেশের ইউটিউব চ্যানেলেও পাবেন। আশা করি এই সেশনটি আপনাদেরকে হেল্প করবে, এবং আরো আপনাদের যদি কোনো কোয়েরিজ থাকে আপনারা আমাদেরকে কমেন্ট বক্সে জানাতে পারেন অথবা আমাদের পেজে মেসেজ করে জানাতে পারেন। দেখা হবে আপনাদের সাথে নেক্সট সেশনে। এই পর্যন্ত সবাই ভালো থাকবেন। থ্যাংক ইউ সো মাচ লরিন for your uh, dedication and helping us to learn about writing task and vocabulary and expressions, punctuation, as you told us. And thank you so much for helping us to improve our pronunciation.
Thanks, Sanjita. It's a pleasure as always. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you on Thursday for the next live event.
Yeah. সবাই এই পর্যন্ত সবাই ভালো থাকবেন। Thank you so much, Lorraine.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.